Hello everyone, my name is Jenna, but you guys can call me Jen. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. Hi, hello. Welcome to a surprise last minute, one day only TBR Sidequest because it's Thursday. I need a video for tomorrow and I was like, what's something I could do in one day that would be interesting? And then I was like, what if I read some of the shortest books on my TBR? So let me put you with Freya. I'm gonna go get the books. Take care of our internet friends. Okay, I'm also gonna get my water so that you have something to sit up against that isn't Freya's body, because as we know, she likes to move. There we go. All right. So, also, yes, I did get a haircut. 10 months in the making, because my hairdresser has been out of commission for like over a year at this point. And last August, I got a haircut from my dad's old hairdresser at like a Supercuts, because my mom went there and she was like, oh, it's like great, like it's easy. And I was like, I just need something. So last August I got a haircut and it was fine. I just was like, I don't want to go back risking a bad haircut again, because as a curly girl I've had many bad haircuts in my life. I was just like, I'm just gonna wait until my girl's back. Okay, she's out of commission due to many surgeries and like shit with her back. So, but she's back and so am I. I'm so happy. 10 months of growth to nice, short, fun again. Anyways, okay, these are some of the shortest books I have on my TBR. They're all under 300 pages, and I'm so excited. So we have this cutie little sci-fi novella by Nathaniel Lescombe, who wrote Moon Soul. This is one of his older publications. It's called The Planets We Become. I also have the possibility of reading Natural Beauty by Lin-Ling Huang if I'm feeling a lit fic. Weird Girl Lit Fic. We have What Souls Are Made Of by Tasha Shuri, which is a Wuthering Heights retelling remix. It's part of the like classic remixes that Squarefish did, which is really interesting to me. And also because it is Pride Month, I know Tasha Shuri herself is queer. She has a wife. So I would like to read this as well because of that. I also think Natural Beauty might be queer. I might just be putting that on it from Immaculate Conception being kind of queer, but who's to say? I also am currently reading Saha by nam-joo. I've started this just the other day. I don't even know, 40 some pages. Yeah, 43 pages in. This is a teeny tiny little translated work. So I will finish this one. So this one is like number one. I'm going to finish this one first. We also have We Could Be Rats by Emily Austen, another queer lesbian little lit fic. I'm really feeling this. And then last but not least, we have Among the Burning Flowers by Samantha Shannon, which is again queer little. Surprising because Samantha Shannon, and I really love Samantha Shannon's works. And I'm realizing now that my copy is all sorts of destroyed at the top. I think that's Freya's fault. She likes to step on my book sometimes. Anyway, so that's what we have. We're going to see how many of these I can read tonight alone. And it's going to be great. It's going to be wonderful. So for sure, at least one, because this is going to take no time at all to finish. They're all little. We're going to see what we get up to. But yes, welcome to a surprise version of the TBR Sidequest. What am I at now for my TBR? Because I did have a little bit of a slip in the TBR vibes. I think I'm at 173 TBR books right now. So let's try get it to 170. That would be really cool. I had a slip because I was on book buying bans for my previous TBR Sidequests, and I have since gone off that book buying ban in a very beautiful way. I've bought a lot of books in June. Sorry, watching the traffic outside. Some guy just passed on a residential road. That was dumb. My God. Anyways, what was I saying? I bought a lot of books. I've read a lot of books since my last TBR side quest. I think we're at 173 to start this video. Let's see where we end. Welcome to the vlog. Hello friends, it is now 10:15 p.m. and I've officially finished 2 books for this little mini challenge, and I do hope to try and tackle one more. So hopefully I can get one more in, but I wanted to do a little reading update. I ended up finishing Saha by nam-joo, or nam-joo, or nam-joo. I'm not entirely sure how to say her name, and it's translated by Jamie Chung from Korean. This I hated it. Like, I don't think, but like in a way of like I don't feel anything towards it. Like like the ending went so weird. It became this like over the top, didn't make sense with the rest of the story kind of vibe. Like we kind of had this like very desolate dystopian vibe from beginning to end, but then at the end it went real weird. Like real action movie heroic attempt with no repercussions kind of a thing. And I was like, what the fuck is happening? The concept of this book is this is a world wherein the citizens of this town, capital T town, are divided by citizens, and then those who can work on a visa for like 2 years are L2s, and then there are people who live in the Saha estates and they are like less than, can't, whatever, right? They live in squalor basically. We are following people from the Saha estates in modern day and also previously, as some things happen in the modern day where one of the people, kind of like the brother of our main character sort of, wakes up and finds his girlfriend dead in a car and he runs away from it. Then he goes missing at a certain point. We follow his sister, we follow another girl who was born with only one eye, we follow an old man, we follow like people from the past, and we get this like knitting together of a story that like was pretty interesting and the concept was there. But then we get to this point where we start learning more about one of the characters, Wumi, and suddenly she's being tested on for some reason against her will since she was a baby, and it's all this kind of stuff, and it's I don't understand. I don't get it. And like from that moment to the end I was like, this is dumb. Like it's just dumb. I don't like it. So this was not fun, but I read it. So there's that. And then I dove into What Souls Are Made Of by Tasha Shuri, which is the Wuthering Heights remix. Interestingly, Tasha Shuri chose to write specifically the part wherein Kathy and Heathcliff are separated, right after Kathy tells Nellie that she's going to marry Edgar Linton, and Heathcliff overhears a piece of Kathy telling Nellie that Heathcliff is too low for her. Like it's right after that when he leaves. And in the original text, Wuthering Heights, Kathy then marries Edgar Linton, and eventually Heathcliff comes back a rich man and mysterious, and then he makes it his whole prerogative to just ruin the lives around everyone because he can't have Kathy, right? And it's the one person he's ever been obsessed with and all that kind of stuff. So like the original text deals with obsession and racism and classism and like so many different issues. This one specifically tackles that period of time and then changes it. The author's note at the end says basically that she wanted to change it. What Souls Are Made Of takes place during the time period when Heathcliff first runs away and Kathy is left behind. It's a reimagining in which they discover things about themselves that set them on a different and more hopeful path. So it is desolate and gothic and dripping in the moors atmosphere, this whole thing, as we get for the first time an insight into this versions of Heathcliff's mind and this versions of Catherine's mind as they are living through this. And it's an interesting take. I think what Tasha Shuri did with the characters, she made Heathcliff a lot more palatable because this is a YA audience. Of course, this is a YA book. And so she made Heathcliff more of that like romantic hero type of vibe, but not like to the extent that popular culture has believed him to be. Like he's no longer the completely abusive piece of shit that he is in Wuthering Heights. He is a 16-year-old boy who's been abused and is trying to make a life for himself, thinks he's so hard and rough and all this kind of stuff, but then he ends up making friends and like learning some stuff about himself and becomes like a little better, and then goes to rescue Kathy essentially. And then we have Kathy, who from the original book, I fucking hate Catherine. Like she is so in her own shit, but I also love that for her. Like Catherine is a character from Catherine from Wuthering Heights is a character that just is so, she's awful, but like we know that because that's who she's supposed to be. She is whiny and rich and all this. She's not even rich at this point, but she's richer than like someone like Heathcliff would be. She's a very complicated character, and getting to see from her brain, I don't think Tasha Shuri did a good job in pinning down Catherine as a character. She kind of missed the mark, because in here Catherine does say that she's like, I'm not a good person, I am not good, but I want to do some good in the world. I'm like, you also aren't like bad, like you're kind of just middle of the ground just grieving this whole book. Like, you're not doing anything. You're not necessarily, that level of vindictive, snappish, spoiled that we get from Catherine in Wuthering Heights. This Kathy does not even hold a candle to the original Kathy. Like, I don't think Tasha Sheri got her character right. She didn't, I don't know if she even tried to. I'm wondering if she tried to change Catherine and temper her for a YA audience as well to make her a little bit more likable. You know what I mean? So I didn't really love this, even though as someone who loves the original text and someone who loves Tasha Sheri, I don't think this really worked as a story. I don't think it was a good piece of Wuthering Heights to rewrite, even though I do think it would probably be the easiest to rewrite. Or actually, I think it would be really interesting if someone like Tasha Sheri had the chance to rewrite a different piece of Wuthering Heights as well, which would be, to me, Kathy Jr.'s story. I think having Kathy Jr.'s story to rewrite would be very cool to see how that would go, because in the original text, that kind of ends on a slightly hopeful note as well. And I'm wondering if, like, someone could take that and spin it a little bit differently. I'm not sure. But I know that this is like, these are the OGs, right? Like Kathy and Heathcliff, that is the OG. Like, if you ever see a movie of this or a show of this or a reproduction of Wuthering Heights, you are seeing the original story between Kathy and Heathcliff, because they are the obsessive nature, destructive love of each other, right? That's the whole thing essentially that people take out of Wuthering Heights, is the two of them and their doomed love, which is fine. But that's not the point of Wuthering Heights. That's not the point. And I think what Tasha Sheri does really well, and is something that I've seen further on in her writing, and I think she actually does better in An Isle in the Silver Sea, or The Isle in the Silver Sea. The Isle? The Isle. It's The Isle in the Silver Sea. She does a lot better at tackling the idea of colonialism and the effect of trying to, like, stamp down racism and classism and make it, like, what's the way to say it? Like, ignore that it's happening, but like the effects of it all the same are still happening. Like, she does a fascinating concept of it with stories in The Isle in the Silver Sea. And I know this, again, it's a YA book, so it's not as like nuanced or as in depth or whatever, but like, of course, we have Heathcliff, who is very clearly stated at the beginning of this book that he is Indian, and he is a quote unquote Lascar, which is a word that comes from Wuthering Heights as well. Like, that is what he is called many times in Wuthering Heights. And that term is more for like a sailor of like unknown origin kind of a thing. He is from India. And we also learn very quickly that so is Kathy and her brother. Like, something's other about these two, and yet they've been told their whole lives that they are white. They have been given like tinctures to make their skin lighter. Kathy also has no idea who she actually is, because she doesn't remember her birth mom, and she doesn't even remember that she has a birth mom that is other than the mother that passed away a couple years ago or whatever. So we have this interesting dichotomy of these non-white people, or mixed race people as well, because both Heathcliff and Kathy in here are mixed as well. And then we have, of course, Heathcliff's whole narrative where he goes to Liverpool and he sort of experiences some of that racism. He doesn't really, though. Like, yeah, I think she could have leaned so much harder into that. And this, like, yes, we have the very blatant conversation about like the sailors and Lascars, and then we have like the people who are set up to help these poor sailors and lost souls or whatever, or the Lascars, quote unquote, that don't know who they are, like all this kind of stuff. And then we have, of course, the gangs and the people who are against that and against people like Heathcliff or whatever and treat him badly. But I don't think it was very, like, you could easily cut and dry right the experience of someone like Heathcliff at this time in Liverpool, which was a like merchant area, right? I don't know if she nailed that very well in here. I think she could have leaned into it harder. Like, even though this is a YA book, like, you can really give to the teens and they will take, you know what I mean? Like, I think Tasha Sheri could have gone further with a lot of the things that Heathcliff was dealing with in here. Like, I don't know, it felt very like Oliver Twist, but like kid version with Heathcliff's point of view. I also really hated the writing style of a lot of this, which is so sad because I love Tasha Sheri and I love her writing, but like, there is something about the way that this was told. Chapter 2, Catherine. Sick and feverish I dreamed. The grass rustled around me. The heather sang like church bells. The moon was large, so large above me, I was afraid it would fall from the sky and crush me. I had run and run, shouting for him. Like it got better near the end. Like it felt a little bit more lyrical, but at the beginning it was so choppy. And I was like, what the fuck is happening? Heathcliff's especially bothered me. Like it definitely felt like we had two different voices, but like not quite different enough. Heathcliff's was worse. Heathcliff's felt very choppy and telly, and I didn't really love that. But again, circling back to what I said about the fact that this was a weird period of time to choose, I feel like we didn't really even get a hook of the story. It's just Heathcliff left before the narration even starts, and then it's just the two of them pining for each other and experiencing what is happening to them, and then eventually coming back together. And it doesn't really move in any kind of way. It just kind of sits. And I was like, this is not interesting. Like I don't honestly know if a kid who like picked this up, who was like, what's this about, and kind of I think they would be bored, to be honest. Like I kept reading it because I love Tasha Shuri and I like Wuthering Heights a whole heck of a lot, and I wanted to see what Tasha Shuri was going to do with the story. And I just don't know if it really hit the mark for me. I'm wondering if she felt that she had to temper a lot of what she really wanted to do, because I know Tasha Shuri's opinions on Wuthering Heights. Like I've watched a lot of her videos on it when the movie Wuthering Heights from Emerald Fennell came out. Like Tasha has a lot of opinions about the original text. She loves the original text and all of this, like all the classism, racism, and that whole conversation that goes on. And I know Tasha Shuri can do this so fucking well. Like her 4 other books I've read are fucking amazing. And I love the way that she treats revolution and change and colonialism and this commentary on that. I think it's beautiful and nuanced. And I just don't think she did it very well in here. And I'm wondering if she felt kind of a little bit caged or restricted because it was part of this like classics rewritten, or the the remixed classics series. And if it's a YA, like I'm wondering if that was kind of the vibe. I'm not sure. But yeah, I read it. I didn't hate it. I think it's an interesting reworking of the text. And I think it converses with the original text in a very interesting way. And it's better than Emerald Fennell's fucking movie. So I'll give her that. I'm going to see what I'm going to end up reading next. It's either going to be the Emily Austen or the Samantha Shannon, because both of those are queer. Perfect for Pride Month. I just don't know which one I'm feeling, because both of these have been very like literary, because Saha is like a dystopian sci-fi lit fic, and then this was like historical fiction, right? I don't even think I can call it a classic because it wasn't written as a classic, but it's not fantasy, right? And I'm like, do I need a fantasy, or could I go with like slice of life Emily Austen next? I'm glad that I kind of talked that out with you guys. So we've had 2 kind of losses so far, but we are officially down to 171 books in the TBR. So if I can get one more done, I will hit my goal of hitting 170 TBR books in this video. So let's see. All right, my friends, we are officially done. The 3rd book of the night, We Could Be Rats by Emily Austen, has been completed. I picked it because I looked at the audiobook length for this one versus the Samantha Shannon, and the Samantha Shannon was 8 hours and this one was 5. So I was like, we're picking that one, and I finished it in just under 2 hours. So thank God for my fast brain, because it is already 1:36-ish. I read 3 books tonight. We are now down to 170 TBR books once again. I'm feeling very happy, very good. Not only did we read these 3 books were all queer in some kind of a way. And also, I doubled the amount of books I read in June in one night. Yeah, I'm feeling real good. So I've already talked about the first 2, wax poetic about them. So let's talk about We Could Be Rats real quick here. I love Emily Austen's books. I have come to realize that they are just such a perfect literary fiction for me. I don't know what it is. Like this one, holy shit. This one was so tough. This one was so tough to read. It is a sister story. I feel like the pitch for this one on Goodreads is a little bit misleading and incorrect, because the way that Goodreads describes it is that it is like this like big sister story of these 2 sisters reconnecting after they realize that you have to like, you know, use the fantasy that they used to as kids to like come back together. That really doesn't happen in this. Like it is a sister story, but it is more of a like a moment in their lives where they realize very deeply that I don't even think both of them realize this very much, but I know that it's like they both become each other's like moons in a way. Is so fascinating. So this book is set up, I don't even want to say if I don't want to spoil it, because when I got to that part I was like, holy shit. Okay, so trigger warnings and content warnings for this one for an attempted suicide throughout all of this, like, because when we open this up, it is Sigrid writing a suicide note, and it is that suicide note just spiraling on and on and on and on as she's diatribing about her life and her choices, and she's lying to her parents and the people who might be reading this, and lying again and again, and she's like making up things, and we don't know if she's quite trustworthy and all this kind of stuff. And then something shifts in the narrative and we get a different point of view, and then something shifts again later and we get Sigrid, her point of view after the attempt. And it's dark, but it is also typical Emily Austen fashion of, we are very just cradled in these lives, these snapshots of people's lives and the relationships that they're going through in this moment in time. This is a fascinating book in the way that it was framed, and I really think that it was such a fascinating look at depression and suicidality and the complete loss of oneself in moments like this, because we get Sigrid's sister as well, Margit. We get Margit's point of view at some point in here too. And when we get her point of view, we realize something, and it's like, oh, she's not well either. Girly is burnt out. She is the burnt out gifted kid. It's so specifically a reflection of these two young girls who went through such a volatile living situation as they were kids, and what both of them did to cope with that. And it's Sigrid, our I wouldn't really call her our main character, one of our characters. She goes through her childhood. She is fantastical. She's creating things in her mind. She's playing with her toys at all times, and she doesn't want to grow up. And when she is forced to at some point, right, because she becomes a teenager and she realizes things, she connects with this girl at school who's like her. They're connecting over the fact that everyone else in their class is like obsessed with these new things, and they're just like, but we're still like, we just want to kind of play games still, like we just what, like they're commiserating over that. And it's also about Greta, who is Sigrid's friend. So Greta goes through, like, we don't ever see Greta on page properly. She is only ever reflected in memories or flashbacks or whatever. We don't see her as an actual character in the narrative in the moment. But she is it an opioid? I think so. Like, she's addicted to Oxy. She becomes addicted to Oxy after high school and all this kind of stuff. And so it's Sigrid dealing with that and the loss of her friend through that. Not that Greta passes away or anything, just like the disconnect and the slow distancing and the effect of addiction and stuff like that. So it's that. And then there's also this election happening at the time that's like a mayoral election, and the mayor that's running, that her family is voting for, her Sigrid and Margit's family is all voting for, is this conservative dick fuck who assaulted Greta when she was sleeping at a house party when they were in high school, raped her. So yeah, so we have that in the background of this as well, and it's deep, it's intense, it deals with all these different things, and we definitely see both sisters kind of grappling with their mental state in Sigrid's point of view and in Margit's point of view. Margit is definitely, like, when I was reading her point of view, I was like, holy shit, she is a, like, 3 seconds away from like crash burning completely. But then, like Emily Austen's books I've read before, like, it's still hopeful. Like, she has a support system. She has her friends and her boyfriend that she literally just asks out like a week, like in the middle of this. She's like, hey, do you want to be my boyfriend? And he's like, absolutely, I fucking do. What's happening? And she just like crashes and burns, and then gets all her exams deferred because of a doctor's note, and she tells people what's happening. Her sister attempted suicide, and she's getting the help that she needs too. Now she's in therapy and she's got her support system, and it's lovely to see. Like, I remember reading Interesting Facts About Space, and that one also left me feeling very hopeful at the end, because that's one thing about Emily Henry's books, they just feel hopeful, and despite the darkness that they might be dealing with. And I think this is definitely the darkest Emily Henry book that I've read so far. I've only read 3. I'm interested to read Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead. That one seems very intriguing to me. But this one is definitely the darkest. I think the lightest I've read is her newest one, which is This a Cry for Help? Even though that one is coming off of a mental breakdown, like, it's not experiencing the mental breakdown kind of like We Could Be Rats is. It is the after. and the, still dealing with the mental turmoil and that kind of stuff, but it's a little softer, it's a little lighter, it's an everyday. This one is very much, we are in the moment of that mental break, or the potential mental break, especially with Margaret. It was very good. It was very well written. And she is the one girl who's gonna keep me in the lit fic world for just a little bit longer, Emily Austen, because God, I like the way she writes books. Like, they're so soft and simple and everyday, and they're such slice of life little books, but they just hit. God, they're so queer and just so wonderful. And this one definitely hit. Like, I was not having a good time reading this one because it was just a lot mentally to deal with. So warning if you want to read that one. But anyways, 3 books down, my friends. 3 of my smallest books on my TBR completed for this little challenge. And I'm quite happy with that. We are now down to 170 books. And I'm very happy with the fact that I read these 3 because they're all queer in some kind of way. Saha had a couple sapphic characters. Of course, Tasha Shuri's isn't queer. No, it is queer. There's a sapphic side character in here, just randomly put in there. In Heathcliff's point of view, there's two girls who are together, and I think that's lovely. And then also Tasha Shuri herself is queer, and then Emily Austen is herself queer, and we could be rats, lesbians, all over it. So I think it was a really interesting time reading these 3. They are not of my usual genres, really, all of them. I mean, Saha is technically dystopian, but it's like very literary fiction dystopian. And as we all know, fic is not my favorite thing. Historical fiction is not my favorite thing either, but I think it's a fascinating look with what our souls are made of, or what souls are made of, as a discussion with the original Wuthering Heights text. And then, of course, we could be rats because lesbians. So anyways, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. This was great. This was so fun. I'm so glad that I did this. 3 books down. Another 3 books in June. 6 books already. Happy Pride, my friends. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope you enjoy the last bit of June as we are getting to the end of it. But I'll catch you in another video very soon. Stay kind and keep on reading.